Michelangelo must have had the inspiration of what Moses really looked like, and he caught it in his mind. And then when it was completed, he stood back with the hammer, sculpture's hammer, in his hand, and he looked at that monument, and the inspiration of the vision that he had seen of how to do it inspired him so much till the inspiration struck him till he got beside himself and struck it across the knee and said, "Speak!" Now, there's a flaw on that great image. On the knee, on the right knee. To me, the flaw was what made it the masterpiece. Now, let us turn the page of Michelangelo and close the book. And let's open another book and read of the great sculpture, the Almighty, who, before there was a world, and before the foundations was laid, He had in His mind what He wanted. And He wanted to make man in His own image. He wanted to make something in reality of what was a vision to Him. What was in His thinking. Now to Michelangelo, that was an attribute of his thought. God wanted to make a man after His image. The great sculpture. And He went to work on him. And we notice as He brought up from the materials, the first perhaps was fishes, and then the birds, and then the creeping things upon the earth, and many things that He brought. But finally, as He brewed, being creator, yet He wasn't like a man now, sculpture that has to take something that's been created, a hue and image. He was the sculpture of eternal things. He was a sculpture that could create and bring into existence that which He has in His mind. Or otherwise, He can make material what His attributes desired. And as He began to work upon creeping things, like upon the little animals upon the earth, and then He began to bring it from that into something else higher. Then finally He brought it into the larger animals, such as the lion, tiger, bear. Then He brought it into the life of maybe of monkeys and apes and so forth. Now, not an evolution, as we think that one came from the eagle. That was a complete creation. God working in a pattern. But finally, there came forth upon the earth a perfection. And that was a man. And then He could see in that man that it looked like Him. So now, when He looked upon him, he was a reflection of what his Creator was. God had now been able to achieve the thing that He wanted. A man in his own image. But now he's seen that the masterpiece was lonesome like he was. So he divided the masterpiece by striking it in the side and brought forth a helpmate. And now to make the two one, he put them, like any great sculpture, in a place that it's beautiful. A sculpture wouldn't make a great masterpiece and then take it and set it in an alley somewhere, or hide it behind buildings. As our Lord told us, a man doesn't light a candle and put it under a bushel. When we become God's masterpieces, we're not hid in an alley somewhere. We must give light. So we see that he, after he made this masterpiece, he placed it up here on the earth and put it in the most beautiful place there was, in the Garden of Eden. He placed his masterpiece, the two being one, in the Garden of Eden. And now we see them as a masterpiece family in the Garden of Eden. How beautiful it was, and it so pleased him till he took rest then. He said, I'll rest. But while he was resting and trusting to his masterpiece, his enemy come in and found this great masterpiece. And he, by deceit, he crawls under the garden walls. And then he marred this beautiful masterpiece. He marred it so that it fell. Then this masterpiece, when Satan got a hold of the deceiver, broke through the walls, and he marred this masterpiece. But the great sculptor, when he seen the fall of his family, the masterpiece, he wasn't willing just to leave it lay there face down and ruin. He went to work immediately to build it up again. He wasn't willing that it should perish, lay there like that all the time, because he's God. And he will not be defeated. So he went to work immediately and began to build again unto his own image a man. And he began with the man called Abraham, and give to Abraham a covenant unconditionally. Every time he'd start a masterpiece, Satan would get it because the Word. But when he started with Abraham, he said, I have already done it. Now this is unconditionally. Not what that if you will, I will, but I've already done it. Now the sculptor is determined to have this masterpiece. Then from Abraham come the patriarchs. Now what's God doing? He's rebuilding this masterpiece that had fallen. So in the patriarchs, the first we find was Abraham. Every masterpiece is put on a foundation, a sculpture. Angelo's Monument of Moses is on 3 or 4 foot piece of marble. It's got a foundation. So God, in preparing this masterpiece, He put it on a foundation of the patriarchs. And the patriarch foundation first was Abraham, then Isaac, then Jacob, then Joseph, the 4 corners. And now Abraham was the foundation of faith. The foundation of love was Isaac. The foundation of grace was Jacob, God's grace to Jacob. But in Joseph was perfection. There's where he could set the money. Now the foundations is laid through faith, love, grace, and to perfection through the patriarchs. Finally, as he started way back in the days of Moses and come down through the prophets, each one, and finally building up the body, coming closer all the time. And the greatest of all of them was John. The Bible said so. Jesus said it. There's not a man ever born of a woman as great as John the Baptist. For he was the one that could introduce the Word. And then come finally the great head. The head of all of it. The rest of the body just spoke of it. The foundation was laid by the patriarch. But the body was built by the Word, which was the prophets. And here comes the head of all of it. Jesus came on the scene. There, when this headpiece was put up on it, we find in Him the entire handiwork of God. We find in Him the perfect reflection of the Word, for He was the Word. The fullness of the Word. Now again, God has the perfect masterpiece again. As Isaiah said, behold my servant, my masterpiece, that I have portrayed through all the ages of this perfect one coming in. Here He stands right before me, a perfect, there in His own image, reflecting God. For He said in St. John 14, when you see me, you see the Father. And then in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was hewed out and reflected what the Word was at the beginning. Him, the Word, reflected in a masterpiece in His own likeness. God, back again in His own likeness. The Word form being reflected in the image of a man. The masterpiece. All the prophets had flaws. All that one's just a potion. But here at last, coming up through that, finally comes the masterpiece. The perfect one. No fault in Him at all. So perfect, reflected of the builder Himself. His own image was reflected in His work. God and Christ were one. Insomuch until He put His own Spirit into Him. And then even the image and the builder became one. God and His sculpture work, His masterpiece. Where Moses was in the work of Michelangelo was a sculpture work that was dead because it had been made out of stone. But you're the master builder. When he got his handiwork perfected, he stepped into it. So perfected a Redeemer of man. So perfect. So godly. Yet there was no beauty we should desire Him. When this virgin-born Son of the living God becomes so perfect and humble and in the image of God until the great Master who had brought His life up through the prophets, and He was the fulfilling of all the prophets. He was so perfect until God, seeing this, He smote Him and cried out, "Speak!" as Michelangelo did. Speak!